And this one is a competitive game that takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where the world has turned into a splintered desert wasteland. And if you are a fan of Garfield games or games by Shem Phillips, then you'll definitely want to check this one out because Shem Phillips is the designer of this one. And this one is also my own personal pick of the week, and one of the main reasons for that is that Shem Phillips is a reliable designer, but then also I think this game just has some really interesting mechanisms with the different ways that the dice work in this game and the different puzzles that those present. And I also really like the fact that you get 3 different types of vehicles in this game that are going to allow you to move across the map in different ways. And within these 3 types of vehicles, there's a bunch of options that you could end up with that can make each game very different than the last. Not only that, but each player is going to be playing as a specific character that brings in their own ability as well. But essentially, players are going to be playing the majority of the game on their own personal player board in order to assign their actions, then using those actions to move around and interact with the world. But what's interesting here is that even though you do have 3 vehicles, you only do have just 1 token out on the board. Using the different vehicles is just going to allow you to move that token in different ways. You do also want to be a little careful with how you use your vehicles and also with the dice that you assign to them, because each of the vehicles will come with some restrictions that if you breach those, that's going to be causing damage to your vehicle. And anytime you do that, you're going to be filling in one of your dice worker placement spots with one of these damage dice, limiting the amount of times that you can use that vehicle. If you need to put a damage die there and it's already completely full, you're going to be raising the damage on your tracker on your actual board, which will also subtract from your victory points at the end of the game. But a nice thing here is that you can also get these different modifiers throughout the game that you can use to cover up those restrictions on your vehicles, making it just a little bit easier to use your vehicle without causing damage to it. But the game plays over 6 rounds, and at the start of each round, you're going to be rolling a number of dice because each player is going to be getting 2 turns per round. And then there's always going to be 1 die left over, and whichever die that is, you're going to be checking its value to determine how many times the storm is going to move around on the board. The storm does follow a predetermined path, but the die that's left over is going to determine how far it moves down that path, and anywhere that storm ends up is going to be completely blocked off until it moves on a following round. Players are then going to be taking turns drafting a die from the pool and then assigning it to one of the locations on their board. Like I said, you can assign it to any of the vehicles on your board, and that will allow you to move out on the main map, and a higher value will allow you to move further down the map. But there is a restriction when you are placing your dice on vehicles, and that's that the die that you put there has to be sequentially higher than the die that you put before it. This means that even though the higher dice do allow you to move further, you don't want to play those right away, or you're not going to be able to play many dice for that specific vehicle. Each of the vehicles do also have these special abilities that you'll be wanting to take advantage depending on the die that you're putting there or the options that you have available to yourself. But anytime you move out on the main board, you'll be able to take a location action based on wherever you decide to stop. These locations can do all sorts of different things, like allow you to gain cards for special abilities, gain resources, or use those resources to complete various contracts that are also out on the board. These of course can grant you additional victory points or other bonuses, but some of these locations you can also use to heal damage or increase the various dials that you might have noticed at the top of your board, and these essentially act like victory point multipliers, with each of them multiplying the victory points that you gain from 3 different sources offered in the game. Other than placing a die on your vehicle, there's also one more spot located on the left hand side of your board, and this is your rest action, and you can put any die there and it's going to be gaining you a few different benefits. You can heal some of your damage, remove some of your dice from the board, refresh one of your ability cards that you might have gained, and then also gain a modifier that you can use to cover up one of those restrictions on your vehicles, or gain another ability card. And of course, you do also get to perform the rest special action that is specific to your character. The game continues like this over the course of the 6 rounds, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game.